To the folks that I know, tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song.
You see, I'll tell you the thing about that, okay? On the show yesterday, we didn't actually know about it because, of course, yesterday's show was recorded. So we're mentioning the news today of very sad news of the passing of the wonderful, fantastic Dame Vera Lynn. She died peacefully in the early hours of yesterday morning, of the age of 103, which is a magnificent age, really fantastic age. But she had an amazing life, of course. She basically, what she did was she made a song up about We'll Meet Again, and then of course it got viral and absolutely famous, and that was how she got famous. And then she was, and the Queen obviously mentioned it in the coronavirus thing the coronavirus speech a few months ago, and that's what we're going to start off the show by talking about today, because of course we couldn't say it yesterday because it was recorded, and today's show of course is recorded as well, but of course we are going to start off with the passing of Dame Vera Lynn. She was the forces of the sweetheart whose songs helped raise morale in World War II. She has died of the age of 103, which is an amazing age, of course. The singer was best known for performing hits such as We'll Meet Again to troops on the front line on countries including India and Egypt. Her family said that they were deeply saddened to announce the passing of one of Britain's best loved entertainers, and in the statement they confirmed that she died yesterday morning, surrounded by her close relatives. Now, 6 weeks ago, cast your minds back to 6 weeks ago, ahead of the 75th anniversary, which was a day that I was very good at doing. I was doing lots of stuff for that. Great day, very close to my heart that day, of VE Day, and during the height of the coronavirus pandemic, Dame Vera simply acts of bravery and sacrifice still define our nation. She said a week later she became the oldest artist to get a top 40 album in the UK, beating her own record when her greatest hits album entered the charts at number 30. Now, Dame Vera, who had sold more than 1 million records by the age of 22, was also remembered by singing The White Cliffs of Dover, They'll Always Be in England, and I'll Be Seeing You, Wishing It, and of course Only I Had Wings. The Queen issued her famous World War II anthem during a speech to Britain a few months ago, and a couple of months ago, who were separated from families and friends during the coronavirus lockdown in April, telling the nation that we will be with our friends again, we will be with our families again, we will meet again. We have to say that again, go back and remind you about that. Now, Buckingham Palace have said that the monarch will send a private message of condolences to Dame Vera's family. Now, the late singer's daughter, Virginia Lewis-Jones, said that she was proud of a difference and her mother made through the charity work. She said that the Dame Vera Lynn Children's Charity, which her mother founded to help young children with cerebral palsy, always held a very special place in her heart. Born in London's East Ham in 1970, she wasn't. This is the one thing about her that I didn't get. I didn't actually know that she was actually born during World War One. I thought she was born in World War II, but she wasn't. She was actually born in World War I, and her singing talent was discovered at a young age, and by the age of 11, she had left school to push out a full-time career as a dancer and singer. Now, in 1939, in a poll by the Daily Express, she was voted by servicemen as their favourite entertainer, getting her the Focus Sweetheart nickname. Now, paying tribute, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said, "The singer's charm and magical voice enchanted and uplifted our country in some of our darkest hours. Her voice will live on and light, of course, to lift the hearts of generations to come." And he said that that's what he said. And Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said her songs will speak to the nation in 2020, just as they did in 1914. Not 1930. Now, BBC One aired a tribute programme last night at 7:30, of course, and that's what they confirmed. Is it this Thursday? Was it just Thursday just gone, or Thursday next week? I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday. She demonstrated how music and entertainment can bring joy in the most challenging times, something that will resonate with many people today. World War II veteran Sir Tom Moore, another fantastic person who raised more than 32 million for the NHS charities during the height of the coronavirus pandemic back in April this year, said, I really thought that Vera Lynn would live longer. And she's been speaking to so well on TV recently, and she had a huge impact on me in Burma and remained important to me throughout my life. In 1940, at the height of the London Blitz, Vera Lynn would set off to the BBC's underground studios at the Citroen Theatre in central London. The 15-minute show was called Starlight and was broadcast at 2:30am in the night to soldiers around the world. Now, at the time, the BBC was being criticised in Parliament for broadcasting slushy, sentimental songs, and a number of MPs felt that there needed to be more upbeat songs to boost morale. Her popularity even surprised the BBC. This was after an all-overseas show broadcast in the middle of the night. Vera Lynn sang the songs that resonated emotionally with people who were separated from their loved ones, and she sang them directly to you. It was warm, heartful and personal, and that's why Vera Lynn became the focus sweetheart. Singer Catherine Jenkins, who performed the Dame Vera's wartime classics for the VE Day anniversary last month, she said, I simply cannot find the words to explain just how much I adored this wonderful lady. Her voice brought comfort to millions in her darkest hours, though, and her songs filled the nation's hearts with hope, and her emotive performances, whether home or abroad, then or now, and she helped to get us through. So Cliff Richard said, my nan knows, how weird is this? Cliff Richard, my nan knows Cliff Richard very well, or did know him when they were young. She went to the same school as Cliff Richard, but he doesn't, they wouldn't know each other now, but you might remember her from then, but they went to the same school, and my great uncle's quite famous as well, because he was in a famous band, and that's how he knew Cliff Richard. But he said that she was a great singer and a genre icon. In a photo tribute on Twitter, Clarence House posted pictures of Dame Vera meeting the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. Now, the Royal British Legion described her as an unforgettable British icon and a symbol of hope to the armed forces community, past and present. The Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Howe, she said that she was a hero who captured the sense of longing felt by so many during our darkest hours, while Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said that she lifted our nation and its armed forces in their moment of maximum peril. Okay, and that's the story of Dame Vera Lynn, who's very sadly passed away at the age of 103. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic, really, of course. But of course, that is, of course, the passing of the wonderful Dame Vera Lynn. So, okay, we will talk about national days a bit later on, but now I want to talk about one piece of news story before we go and play some music. We're talking about pubs, okay? We'll go back to coronavirus now. Okay, so save our pubs now. So pub owners are demanding that Boris Johnson confirms by today that they will be allowed to be open on July the 4th. Hundreds of thousands of jobs, of course, will be lost. I feel like I'm losing my cheese shop job at the moment, because I'm not really going to be going there for a long time, but it'd be very sad though if I did. But of course, my gov said to me, I will always be your gov. He said, anyway, but Boris Johnson said that people have written to me, warning that the sector has been left in limbo and has now reached crisis point. And on the significance of the British Beer and Pub Association, which represents around 20,000 of the nation's 40,000 hostelries. Now, Chief Executive Emma McLaren said that our sector is burning through 100 million a month with no cash coming in, and that is not sustainable. We need a definitive date on when pubs can reopen. The industry delivered its deadline as Westminster City Council and revealed a commercial-style plan to receive pubs, restaurants and cafes in London. Now, West End, of course, from July the 4th. Those in areas most popular of course, with tourists in areas most popular with, of course, tourists including Covent Garden, Soho and Mayfair, will be allowed to temporarily place tables and chairs outside along with soft road closures. Table services will be majority, but drinkers will be allowed to stand outside some pubs where their licence permits. But in a blow to the West End, Inspirational Sir Cameron McIntosh said that this 8 theatres staying hit shows, including Les Miserables, Mary Poppins and Phantom of the Opera, will remain closed until 2021. Sir Cameron, 73, he blamed his domestic action in contained unsustainability over when the government is going to end the impossible constraints of social distancing. He said, without our theatres being observed with life, London cannot properly reopen as one of the world's greatest cities. At the other day's daily conference briefing, Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden said that experts, what do they know experts? What do they know? We're working on a roadmap to allow live performances. Now, people will be allowed, though, to drink outside West End pubs when they reopen, of course. So, despite drug dealers, though, have been locked up in lockdown as well, because drug crimes have been logged by police, who have shot up by a quarter after lockdown rules have made dealers easier to catch. There were 25,297 offences recorded between March the 23rd and May the 25th, up from 19,814. Now, a year earlier, figures from forces in England and Wales show it came despite overall crime failing by a quarter as people stayed inside and dealers resorted to making home deliveries at the height of lockdown, making them more obvious to spot. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick has said that some tried to pass for key workers by doning from supermarket car parks. So, roads, now let's talk about road traffic, okay, because road traffic levels have risen to more than 2/3 of pre-lockdown levels as people avoid public transport. On Monday this week, streets saw 70% of early February's traffic level. It was up 7 percentage points on a week before. Now, considering with shops reopening, the Department for Transport found that train use was at 8%. And tubes 14% of the levels on the same date last year, while cycling shot up. I've never seen so many people cycle. I mean, I go out and about, I see billions and billions of people cycling. Wherever I go, all I ever see is people cycling. I mean, I go for walks, we go for drives, and all we ever see is, of course, people cycling. So people are starting to travel again, though, and are heeding advice to use their cars and bikes, said Steve Gooding of the RAC Foundation. Things may be recovering though faster than we might have feared. So there we go. So NHS trainees now have to be denying pay cut for students, and Health Education England has denied cutting pay for student nurses battling COVID-19 after some complaint of financial distress. Writing on social media, nurses expressed outrage after the training body said that placements will stop at the end of next month. They had to understand that would continue until September. Facebook user Becky Jane, she wrote that some of us left jobs for this. Many of us have children and families to care for. Sarah Flynn has wrote that we saved your life, Boris, or have you forgotten? But Professor Mark Radford, chief nurse of HEE, he said that placements were not usually paid, but had been as part of the response to COVID-19. And he said that it was made clear and that it would come to an end and an appropriate point. Now, one more story then. Virus contact tracing app is not a priority. A contact tracing app that was set to play a key part in the national test and trace strategy to fight COVID-19 may not be ready until winter. The government admitted the other day that Health Minister Lord Bethell told that the Science and Technology Committee a pilot scheme at the Isle of Wight was successful, but showed people prefer human to technology contact. He told MPs that we're seeking to get something going before the winter, but it isn't a priority for us at the moment. He added that the government was not feeling great time pressure and did not want to poison the pool, but by rushing out something not quite right. And Health Secretary Matt Hancock, the name that we mention on the show nearly every single day, had planned a late May launch for the government-backed app, but Number 10 has repeatedly refused